Good morning, welcome to Subjective. I'm here with the wonderful Kirsten Owen. I'm thrilled to be here with the wonderful Kirsten Owen. So what I will do is I will show you 10 photographs that you have been in over the years, and then ask you if you will talk to me about them, because of course we all know what it's like to look at the picture, but we don't know what it was like for you to be in the picture and looking out towards us. So I'm going to start slightly differently. Something I was sent from a young photographer, and he sent me this beautiful picture of you. And he wrote to me, he said, "Mr. Knight, my name is John Phillips. I was a photographer in Toronto in the 1980s, photographing many new models. I was lucky enough to be one of Kirsten Owen's first photographers. I remember being very excited about her, even though she was not optimistic about her prospects in modeling. I knew she would do very well once she left our little town of Toronto." Does that ring any bells?
Yeah, I think this was like one of the very first pictures that I did.
He remembers you of being not very hopeful about your prospects, but here we are a few years later, and your prospects are still looking very rosy. Was modelling not a thing you thought you would work out at, or was it just, how did it all start?
From a pretty young age, like around 12, 13, people were telling me that I could be a model, and so I felt safe about that. I felt like, okay, I really appreciated that sort of idea of security.
Yeah. Do you mean secure in the way that your other options were less secure?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So what were you going to be had people not said to you, oh, you could be a model?
Like my closest friend at that age was a 21-year-old stripper, and I was hanging out with people like that.
Okay.
And that's just was my life. So
right, okay.
I wasn't stripping, but I kind of thought that I could, maybe do that.
Was your family supportive? Do you have lots of brothers and sisters? I don't know anything about your family life.
So my mum was really proud, and she was very supportive.
Yeah.
She took me to the airport when I went to Paris, and she was really excited for me.
Yeah. And have they since joined you in Paris, or come over to watch you model, or watch you walk in a show, or?
Yeah. My mum, she came to Paris, and she came to the shows in New York. She helped me when my kids were little, and so she came backstage with me and helped me with the kids and stuff. And we lived at the Gramercy Park Hotel together during the shows. Yeah. And she was just really supportive. My dad, I didn't grow up with my dad, but I know that he was really proud, and he collected all of my pictures.
Oh, lovely. How nice.
Yeah.
And do you have siblings? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters.
All right, okay.
And they're older than me. And it was my older sister, Jill, who actually really encouraged me to model, and she brought me to this woman who taught modeling. Okay. And I was sort of 14 or 15 or whatever. And I remember she said, and my sister was taking the class as well, we took it together. It was all my sister, like really having me do this stuff. And I remember the modeling teacher said that when you're being photographed, if you see something like a flower, smell the flower, take it in, like really connect. And I always remembered that. I thought that was pretty good advice.
Yeah. I have no idea how they teach people modeling. I know, they teach you to walk, but did you ever get kind of walking lessons, catwalk walking lessons? Yeah,
but I did not follow that at all. I just.
We'll get on to catwalking in a minute. Anyway, so I thought it was a lovely picture of you, and very sweet of the young man that sent it to me. So, thank you, John Phillips.
Yes.
So this is the picture and the person I want to talk to you about first, which is, I'm sure you recognise, but. So, that's pictured by.
Vallhonrat.
Exactly. Can you tell me a little bit what it was like, or we can see looking at you, but what were you seeing looking this way?
I'm pretty sure that was the day I walked into Pinup and met Marcus Goli.
Oh, really?
He had me. I was going on a casting to meet Jacques Oliver. Yeah. And Mark saw me at Pinup, and he took me in, and he was shooting Martin Sitbon
Yeah.
with Vallhonrat. And I had just arrived in Paris.
Yeah.
I was just like this hippie kid. I didn't know what was happening, and you know, so it was just a very, I had nothing kind of heavy on my shoulder. It was just very light, and I was happy to be asked to be there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, you worked quite a lot with Javier.
Yeah.
And I was working with you at the same time, so it was that sort of Martin Sitbon, Yoji kind of period, in the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. Can you tell me a little bit about how he works? Was he quiet or shouty or active or concentrated? All photographers have different ways about them.
At the time, he taught me a lot because I didn't know how to give anything. I didn't know what I was, you know, I didn't know what to do at all.
Just had the modelling lessons to go on.
I know.
Find a flower, quick.
Modeling lessons. But so he said, you know, he wanted me to feel more. He wanted me, and he mentioned Jenny Howarth, and she was an idol of mine, like, because I didn't look at magazines much as a teenager, but before going to Paris, we did have a Vogue magazine at home, and she was in it. And he said that she looks in the mirror before she gets on set, and she really checks it out and sees how it moves, and like, come on, can you please do something, basically, he was sort of saying to me.
Right.
And so it helps me a lot realize like what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So who were if Jenny Howarth was somebody you had the kind of, what's the best word, somebody who you respected and looked up to, who were your sort of contemporaries? Which other models would you be hanging out with?
Chancellor.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I really latched onto her when I came to Paris.
Yeah. She's a kindred spirit, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you find that you became, that most of your time were in the company of other models? Did you get a sort of friend group? You mentioned Cecilia Chancellor, but...
Yeah, backstage, being in the lineup.
Yeah.
To go out on the runway.
Yeah.
Gosh, we used to laugh, you know, so much.
Yeah.
Like just joking around, we had so much fun. And yeah, I definitely became really good friends with a couple of models, a few, more than a couple,
Yeah. From a photographer's point of view, he's a master of his lighting. The coloration on your skin is beautiful. This kind of heavenly golden light on you is so incredible. I thought, out of all the photographers you work with, and of course they're all different, they have their different styles and different strengths, but I think he in some ways really suited you, was really suited a part of you. Did you find some sort of kinship in working with him? Was it sort of something because obviously it's an image of you going out to the world. Do you feel protective of that, or are you feeling part of that, or is it just it's out and it's out?
You mean at the time, like how it felt?
Does it feel?
I wasn't really connected to it. I mean, that's not entirely true. Like I remember, I was going to say I found it really difficult to connect, but that's not true because I did connect. But I guess I could say that I did find it really boring at times, and it was just like the sitting in the lighting, the hot clothes, and the actual moment of being able to, you know, share expression and the clicking of the camera is not boring, but a lot.
All of the.
Yeah, and I found that really, I was impatient. You know, I didn't really know how to be okay with that at the time.
Because the days are long.
Yeah, exactly.
All the hair and makeup trials and the kind of all that sort of.
Yeah, and not having a feel for the, like I didn't really understand what it was all about. Like I just didn't care about fashion really, or I did in my own personal way, but not in the world of fashion. I just wasn't connected to it, and I didn't know how to connect. Like it was just. I felt really out of place, sort of thing.
Were there moments where you found it that you wanted to stop, that it was too depressing or too alien to you, or something? You know, you weren't happy doing it?
Well, yeah, there were times that I felt that way.
Yeah.
sometimes I felt that people weren't really particularly kind, and sometimes like they just don't say anything to you when you're finished. They don't say, okay, you can go. Nobody tells you anything, and then you're waiting there all day, and just things like that can happen. And I met a girl who'd been modeling for 3 years, and I said, how long have you been modeling? And she said 3 years, and I said, 3 years? Oh, how? You know?
Yeah.
And then I had kids, and I was like, thank God I'm doing this. This is the best job. I finally became really, really grateful.
Hold on, wait. Having kids was the best job?
No,
or
like
modeling was the best job?
Being able to be a model and you know, not be tied down to. Yeah. There's a lot of freedom. You know,
yeah,
there was
that's
a lot
true.
of freedom.
Certain photographers make you jealous. Oh, damn! I wish I could have done something as good as that. I wish I'd been clever enough. Wish I'd been, subtle enough, in touch enough, whatever the word would be. And Vallhonrat used to regularly make me jealous. So that's always a good sign, I think.